Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IndieZone. My name is Kathy. Yesterday, we published a video here on the IndieZone at YouTube going over a large number of documents that the state of Idaho filed in Idaho versus Kohberger on Friday, December 6th, 2024. There was one item that was filed on December 9th, 2024, and that is a notice of hearing. As we also indicated, although these items were referenced on the case summary page, they did not appear on the docket as of yet. And I just checked the docket again this morning. It's early on the East Coast. The Ada County Court is not open as of yet, but there is no new filing. The last thing that is on the docket is the November 26th, 2024 stipulation between the parties regarding filings that the defense submitted, actually resubmitted, relative to their request for a Franks versus Delaware hearing. I'm anticipating that we will start to see these filings pop up on the docket today. Today is December 10th, 2024. Tomorrow is the 11th. That is the day that a hearing is scheduled to happen in Idaho versus Kohberger. We know that because it was noted on December 6th, 2024, that a hearing would happen on December 11th at 2:30 p.m., and that is local time in Ada County. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Ada County has a dedicated page to the Idaho versus Kohberger case. It has a lot of good information on there, including a direct link to the live stream for all public hearings. I've provided a link to the Ada County courts so that if there is a hearing tomorrow, you can just pop on that and it will bring you to the live stream if the hearing is public. There's also other information on there, administrative orders, and also a link to the Idaho Courts of Judicial Interest that the Idaho courts have published, where Mr. Kohberger's filings dating back to December 29th, 2022, when the Affidavit of Probable Cause, the criminal complaint that was sworn out by Mr. Thompson, the lead prosecutor in Latah County, and the orders that were rendered by Judge Megan E. Marshall finding probable cause and issuing an arrest warrant for Mr. Kohberger and setting no bail. Those were the first three things that appear on the docket. If you go to that link, you'll be able to obtain and look at all of the at least public filings. As you know, if you've been following the case, there are so many items that remain under seal, but there are also hundreds of items that appear on the docket now. And if you follow the link to the Idaho Courts of Cases of Judicial Interest, you'll be able to scroll down and see Mr. Kohberger's case. With that said, if you've been following this case for a while, you know that this docket has become so large. We have been following this case nearly from the beginning, and the IndieZone podcast itself goes over all of the filings dating back to item number 1, the Affidavit of Probable Cause, all the way through the November 26, 2024 stipulation, which is the last item on the docket. I have provided links in the description to this episode that will take you to the podcast. It's available on Apple. It's available on Amazon. It is available on Spotify, which is the home location for the podcast. And what the podcast does is very succinctly, in 5 minutes or less, talk about each of the filing. But if you are interested in doing research on the case, if you are a podcaster, if you're a YouTuber, if you are an armchair sleuth, if you just want to look at documents from the docket and just don't know where to go to save you a lot of time, there's a search engine on Listen Notes and I believe on Apple for Kathy's IndieZone, where we've covered the Idaho versus Kohberger case, that if you plug in a term such as IgG-DNA, it will pull up all of the episodes and give you the date as to where you can go on the docket and get those court filings so that you can read it for yourself. Again, very, very brief, 5 minutes or less, concise and to the point. Finally, there is a community page associated with this YouTube account where we have put up various pop quizzes for the last couple of weeks on the Kohberger case to test our knowledge of the case. There's one that we have just put up today that queries you as to when the replies from the defense are due to the December 6th filings. The December 6th filings by the state were proffered that day because of a deadline that Judge Hippler set in his October 9th, 2024 order. And today, our pop quiz is, when is the defense's replies due? You know, in a court proceeding, there's a motion, like the motion to compel discovery or to suppress evidence that Mr. Kohberger filed. It is an application for a court order. The other side gets to file a response, or as the state of Idaho called it, opposition or objection. They were filed on December 6th because that was the deadline that Judge Hippler has established for filing those responses to Mr. Kohberger's motion. He has also set a deadline for the replies. It goes motion, response, reply from the originating party. And what a reply is you don't get to re-argue your entire motion to suppress, for example, IgG, which is one of the motions that Kohberger filed. You use that reply and limit it to responding to the state's objections. So now we want to know, when are all of those replies due? Take a moment, take the quiz, and we'll talk about that in a future episode of the IndieZone here on YouTube. This will now conclude this episode of the IndieZone. Thank you as always for joining us here today.